Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a feeling that so many of us know all too well, that constant pressure to be perfect. We're going to break it down and turn it into something we can actually understand.
I want to start with this quote from a client, a product designer named Gus. He told me, "I have two gears, overdrive and park." He was either going a million miles an hour or he was completely stalled, nothing in between.
Does that sound familiar? That all or nothing feeling? If it does, you're definitely not alone. You're probably navigating the world of perfectionism, but it might not be what you think it is. So let's get into it.
Okay, section 1, the not enough feeling. Because here's the thing, perfectionism isn't really about wanting to be perfect. It's about something much deeper.
Here's a way to reframe it that might just blow your mind. At its core, perfectionism is not an individual problem, it's a social one. It's this flawed, kind of backwards strategy our brains cook up. We think we have to earn our way into the tribe, through achievements, through being flawless, but what we're actually craving is much simpler. Safety, acceptance, and just a feeling that we belong.
So, how does this actually show up in our lives? Well, researchers have identified three main types, and they call them the three boats. As we go through these, see if one of them feels like the boat you're in.
First up, you've got self-oriented perfectionism. This is the classic version, right? We are our own worst critics. Then there's other-oriented, which is when we turn that critical eye on everybody else, our partners, our colleagues, our friends. And finally, there's socially prescribed perfectionism. This is that heavy, nagging feeling that the whole world, your family, your boss, society, has these impossibly high expectations for you. And that last one, socially prescribed, researchers consider it the most damaging of the three. It's so toxic because it feels like this external pressure cooker. It's the sense that the world is demanding the impossible, and if you slip up, you'll be judged harshly.
And get this, that pressure is only growing. Look at this chart. Over the last 30 years, all three types have been on the rise. But look at the difference. The growth of socially prescribed perfectionism has been described as less of a gentle slope and more of a rocket launch. It's skyrocketing.
So the big question is, what on earth do we do about this? That brings us to our next section, rewriting your inner rulebook. This is all about learning how to go from those rigid shoulds and musts to something a lot more flexible.
We can start to push back with a pretty simple three-step process. First, just notice. Start listening for those really rigid rules in your own head. They usually have words like always, never, or must. Second, weigh them. Be honest. A rule like I must always be productive might help you get things done. Great. But what's the cost? Is it costing you rest, connection, your sanity? And finally, you learn to flex. Instead of blindly following the rule, just ask yourself, okay, what's actually workable for me right now in this situation?
All right, that leads us right into our next big idea. Section 4, from exam to experiment. This is about completely changing your relationship with mistakes.
So many of us go through life with an exam mindset. Every task, every project feels like a final exam. The stakes are sky high, and failure feels like this permanent verdict on our worth. But what if you tried on an experiment mindset instead? In an experiment, you're not trying to be right. You're just gathering data. Mistakes aren't failures. They're just information. They tell you what to try next. You're willing to be wrong because that's how you learn. The legendary basketball coach John Wooden was the master of this. First day of practice, he had the best college players in the country in front of him. And what did he teach them? Not how to shoot, not how to dribble. He taught them how to put on their socks and sneakers correctly. Seriously. Why? To avoid blisters. His focus was never on the final score. It was on mastering every tiny detail of the process.
What Coach Wooden was really teaching his players was a new kind of self-talk. He was moving them away from evaluative self-talk. That personal, vague stuff like, I suck, or what's wrong with me. And he was moving them toward instructional self-talk, which is specific and, most importantly, fixable. It's not a verdict on your character, it's a playbook for your next move. It's a difference between, I'm not doing enough, and, okay, let's start with an outline.
So if the goal isn't to be flawless, then what are we even aiming for? Well, let's look at a pretty unexpected role model for a whole new kind of excellence.
Fred Rogers was, believe it or not, an amazing perfectionist. His standards were incredibly high. He oversaw 895 episodes of his show, and every single script, every puppet, every song went through this intense, careful process. But, and this is the whole point, his high standards were never for his own ego. They served a much, much deeper value.
That value was human connection. His goal wasn't to be impressive. It was to connect with his audience, to make one single child feel seen, feel understood, feel valued. The journalist Tom Junod put it perfectly when he said, "Rogers gave so much without asking me to earn it." That was his secret. He had this deep sense of self-possession. He didn't need anything from anyone, which meant he was free to give to everyone.
And that leaves us with one last big question. What if you are already enough? What if you just stopped trying so hard to earn your place, stopped performing to prove you're worthy of connection? What if you really truly believed what Mr. Rogers taught millions of us, that you are enough right now, just the way you are?